Take a good look at these pictures. If you're driving and listening to us on the radio, look them up on our website when you get home, because this is the man investigators say shot and killed his former boss at Wayne Community College, and the man has not been caught. Thank you for joining us. I'm David Crabtree.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. We have had crews on the ground in Wayne County for 10 hours now, and we continue to uncover new information. Here's what we can tell you. The search continues at this hour for the suspected gunman, Kenneth Stansel. Investigators do not know if he left the campus in a vehicle or by foot this morning. Helicopters and dogs are being used in the search.
Let's take another look at the pictures of Stansel. He is 5'11", has very distinct tattoos on his face, as you can see. Investigators want you to consider him armed and dangerous and do not want you to approach him should you see him.
Deputies are stationed outside his home right now. So is our Amanda Lamb, and she joins us live to start our team coverage. Amanda?
Well, Deborah, just a little while ago, investigators went into this home behind me. That's Kenneth Stansel's home, armed with a search warrant. We are on Old Mount Olive Highway in Dudley, and they are searching that home at this hour. They're hoping that search, along with those new photos that we've been talking about, the photos that were just released showing those very identifiable tattoos, will help them find Stansel. Now, friends call him Morgan. That search warrant arrived with Goldsboro Police late this afternoon. Sheriff's deputies have been guarding this property all day long. We have learned that Stansel did attend Wayne Community College for several years, and he also worked for the victim, Rob Lane.
He was a former work-study student, a student who works for federal financial aid.
And he worked in the print shop?
He did work in the print shop.
Now, you can see there are a lot of official cars here in the driveway. Officers have been in and out of the home. They have not brought anything out yet. We've also seen them interacting with the family, talking to family members here on the property. We tried to talk to the family members. They're very upset. They didn't want to comment on the case. This is right next to, however, the family business, which is a senior care center, a residential care center, right there, again, next to this home where Stansel was said to be living. And so we will, of course, continue to bring you updates about this search and what's happening here at his home, part of this bigger story today. Back to you.
Amanda Lamb live in Dudley. Thanks, Amanda.
Over the course of the past few hours, new details have emerged about what happened inside the buildings as the school was on lockdown today. Sky 5 is live right now over the campus of Wayne Community College in Goldsboro. Usually a busy place at this hour. However, tonight, the campus is closed. WRAL's Micaiah Thurman was our first reporter on the scene this morning. She is still there tonight and joins us live with what's next for the school. Micaiah?
David, there is a lot of things next. As you can see behind me, the first thing you mentioned is that this college campus is very quiet. If you take a look right behind me, I'm standing just a few hundred feet away from the library where police say that shooting unraveled early this morning. Around 8 a.m., police say a lone gunman entered the library and fired a single shot, killing print technician Ron Lane. Law enforcement officers flooded the campus and locked down buildings as they looked for suspects. Earlier today, students inside the library told me that they feared for their safety.
Just the unknown, you know, the thought that I could have been in that library and got shot just as easily as the person that did get shot.
This is a tremendous loss for the campus as well as the community, and there will be counseling services available for students tomorrow. But one other very important thing to remember is that there will be an increased police presence. So if you are a faculty member or a student, then that is something to remember. As you come into school, there will be law enforcement around.
Micaiah Thurman reporting live in Goldsboro. Micaiah, thank you. And our team coverage of this tragedy continues into our later newscasts.
I'm Adam Owens with WRAL News in Wayne County. We've been talking with people who knew the victim in this shooting. Coming up tonight, you'll hear how this day has been for them on our Fox News at 10 and right here on WRAL News at 11.
One of the largest joint military training exercises in 20 years is going on right now at Fort Bragg. About 1,000 British paratroopers are learning how to live, work, and fight with the 82nd Airborne Division. WRAL's Gilbert Bays joins us live from Green Ramp, where the operation is about to get underway. Gilbert?
Hey, Deborah, we've got a final briefing that's going on right now. You know, the 82nd Airborne Division has a reputation for having their wheels up and within 12 hours, and then be in any country in the world within 96 hours. But they can't win that fight alone, and that's why it's important for them to train with their allies, like these soldiers from the UK.
All right, these are last-minute checks before British and American paratroopers take to the sky. Private Ben Parks is one of about 1,000 British soldiers learning American warfighting strategies.
Tried some of their weapon systems, like we've got a GMG, grenade machine gun, and they use a Mark 19. So just been like cooperating with them and seeing like different weapon systems, capabilities and stuff.
This training has been going on for about a month. The paratroopers have jumped together and tested out each other's parachutes. Now comes the test of what they've learned. Tonight, they jump into fictitious countries. The 82nd's mission is to secure an airstrip. The Brits are to evacuate non-combatant residents.
They've got a scenario. They've been working up an intelligence picture. They've had to plan for the enemy forces that they plan to encounter on the ground. And a lot of that is figuring out what logistic support they're going to need, what air support they're going to need.
And that's why this type of joint global training is so very important. While British and U.S. forces have fought side by side in Iraq and Afghanistan for years, now they're learning how to complete their missions together within each other's units.
And so it's essential that we build those partnerships, we build the interoperability with our multinational partners before called into a crisis region.
I tell you, this safety briefing right here, taking me back to my training as I went through Ranger School. Now, this training actually was planned more than a year ago, and Deborah, military leaders tell us that it has nothing to do with the fact that members of the 82nd Airborne Division will be deploying to Iraq a little later on this summer. Deborah?
What a collaboration. Gilbert Bays is joining us live from Fort Bragg. Thank you. Sometimes our veterans need a hand getting back on their feet when they leave the military. A nonprofit in Raleigh offered more than a dozen veterans that helping hand today. We will take you there coming up. And the Durham Bulls are about to become the first minor league team brewing beer in the stadium. Just one of the finishing touches for the home opener. Hear about them in 6 minutes. Greg?
All right, Deb, and not much of a draft out there tonight. It's actually pretty mild, but it looks like the chances of seeing rain this evening are rather remote. But if you have outdoor plans for tomorrow, the rain may lead to your demise. We'll be back.
Greg Fishel is on a scientific quest to explore climate change. He talks to world experts and goes wherever the data leads him.
I'm here in Barrow, Alaska, along the Continental Divide.
The quest is on. The official quest, exploring climate change. Wednesday and Thursday at 6. News that's happening where you live. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
A state worker remains in intensive care at this hour following a serious accident in downtown Raleigh. It happened this morning at the State Archives and Cultural Resources Building. Two workers were setting up a lift to work on outside lighting. It fell, hitting one man on the head. His name is not being released at this time. Authorities will only say the injury is life-threatening.
New tonight, firefighters are on the scene of a fire in Fayetteville. That fire broke out around 4:40 this afternoon in a two-story apartment building on Wichita Drive, just off Santa Fe Drive. Fire officials say flames and smoke were visible when they arrived on the scene. They are currently working to put out that fire. At this time, we have no reports of any injuries. A fire also brought business at a Raleigh shopping center to a halt today. The fire broke out at this laundromat on Avent Ferry around 1:30 this afternoon. The fire forced dozens of patrons out of the stores in that shopping center. Raleigh firefighters were able to quickly get that fire under control. No one was hurt. An investigation is underway tonight to determine what started that fire.
The Wayne County School Board is looking at a plan to give elementary schools additional support. In the fall, a task force identified 5 key areas where schools need extra help and also pointed out a dozen schools that need help now. That proposal could cost $1 million to address immediate needs and more moving forward to support all schools.
Today marks a turning point in the lives of several homeless veterans. They're moving into a new apartment community in Raleigh designed specifically for homeless vets. 10 live in the first phase, which opened a couple of years ago, and 10 more will sign the lease tomorrow. One of them is Air Force veteran Patty Treese, who has been living in a truck for 2 years.
I don't know that I feel as safe here as I did sometimes in Iraq and Afghanistan, sleeping in my truck, but, you know, I will now because, like I said, I've come home.
Hull's Landing is the work of CASA, a Triangle nonprofit that provides permanent affordable housing, especially for veterans and people with disabilities. Residents pay 30% of their income for rent, including utilities. Federal and local governments funded the project along with some private donations. CASA is working on a similar project in Durham. Republican leaders planted a tree at the executive mansion this morning to mark Safe Digging Month. The event also included a proclamation from the governor asking you to call 811 before you dig. Operators there will help you locate any underground power, sewer, or gas lines on the property.
Downtown Durham has changed an awful lot in the past 20 years, and some say it all began with one development.
From my opinion, none of this would have happened without a ballpark.
Coming up this evening, how the Durham Bulls Athletic Park helped revitalize downtown, plus what new attractions are planned for this season. And in 2 days, crowds are going to pack the ballpark for the Bulls home opener. Greg Fishel has your play ball forecast when we come back. You gotta love it. We are just days away from the Durham Bulls home opener. 20 years ago, could you believe that?
No.
The Bulls moved right in here to this ballpark.
I remember when that was under construction. I was standing right there on home plate. Unreal. Well, it was a change for the team, but made even larger impact on the city it calls home. WRAL's Ariel Clay joins us live with a look at what the DBAP has meant to Durham and what fans can expect to see this year. Hey, Ariel.
Hey, Deborah and David. You know, the Bulls organization has been busy in the offseason making some changes. One of those is that there will be live bat demonstrations. Bats like these will be made in the team store. People can stop by and see them being made. They can also purchase them. And fans who show up here on Wednesday and throughout the season will notice some other changes, too.
After a $20 million renovation at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park last season,
You would think we'd kind of calm down a little bit.
not quite.
We're going to keep adding new things.
One of this year's biggest additions is the Bull Durham Beer Company. It's a craft brewery set up right here in the ballpark. And the first batch starts brewing opening night.
We're the first minor league team that will be brewing beer in the stadium.
Bulls general manager Mike Beerling says firsts are not uncommon for the team, which is celebrating its 20th season at the DBAP. The stadium, seen under construction in these photographs, was built when not much else was going on in downtown Durham.
All these warehouses that have been rebuilt, the buildings around the ballpark, the DPAC, none of that stuff happens without this ballpark.
He's absolutely right.
Durham Chamber of Commerce President Casey Steinbacher.
If you look at the history of downtown Durham, it started with the Durham Bulls Stadium. That was it.
Steinbacher says once American Tobacco was built across the street, business really started to boom. And she adds the stadium is still an important piece of downtown success.
They're responsible for $40–50 million a year in economic impact to Durham, if you count both the direct and the indirect impact that stadium actually has.
It's amazing what has happened down here.
Well, another change that fans will notice is that the Durham Bulls have taken over all operations of the concession stands here. They say that they hope to eventually incorporate more local foods into their menus here at the ballpark. And we also would like to mention that the Bulls are owned by Capital Broadcasting, which is the parent company of WRAL. Deborah and David.
And what is it, Ariel? Like $7 for a ticket? You get all of that just for such a great price
So much
and
stuff.
so much fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ariel Clay live in Durham. Thanks so much. And as we mentioned, the first home game is Wednesday, and WRAL will take you there for the crack of the bats and the fun in the stands. Join us for live coverage leading up to the first pitch on Wednesday evening.
Always opening night.
So
it's
fun.
so great. One of the things you will not see, though, however, probably ever again, is Greg Fishel driving Woolie's car.
Oh, that
and
was
spinning
so
out
fun
at
when
home
it
plate.
happened.
Yeah, they weren't real happy about that.
I mean, the groundskeepers had worked all day. I mean, everything was pristine, and here comes Greg, and it's just like a kid doing donuts, and it looked great.
We need to find that video.
Woolie almost pulled his horns off.
It was fun until I saw all those, those faces in the glass that were just, yes, exactly.
Well, they survived. Sky didn't fall.
And you know what? Jim Goodman hates when I talk about this, but I've been here long enough that I can afford to make him mad every now and then.
Nice working with you.
Yeah, right. But
he's in Vegas, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I mean, but seriously, how many CEOs of broadcast companies take on the task of remodeling a town?
I would doubt any.
You know, I mean, that's just what is so
amazing.
amazing about
Yeah,
them.
American Tobacco and the ballpark.
Anyway, so
awesome.
I'll look for my pink slip when he gets back in town. All right, let's go on ahead and take a look at the radar.
Ick. All right, Greg, thanks.
Jeff is here without a green jacket.
No, but I know a young fella who's got one, and what a masterful performance by Jordan Spieth, and what a start to his season. It is also pack-up day for the Hurricanes after one of the worst seasons in 12 years. Ken Medlin looks at what's next. It is another year without postseason hockey for the Carolina Hurricanes. Make that 6 straight years of failing to make the playoffs. Ken Medlin was at PNC Arena this morning as the guys packed up for the offseason.
An all too familiar sight for the Carolina Hurricanes for a 6th consecutive year. The Canes are packing up early after missing the NHL playoffs.
We missed the goal. I mean, the goal was to make the playoffs and strive for the Stanley Cup. And when you don't achieve that, it feels like a failed season.
After going 0 for October, losing their first 8 games this season, the Canes were always on the outside looking in as far as the playoff race was concerned.
The start we had wasn't any good. I mean, you can't go 0 for 8 to start a year, and it's difficult to climb back.
But there is reason to believe this team may be on the upswing. From January 1st on, the Canes had a winning record this season, and goalie Cam Ward bounced back from the worst season of his career by having one of his best.
You know, to be able to come back and get that another opportunity was something I was extremely grateful for.
The way we played after the new year, and I think some of the young guys here, the improvement they showed throughout the years, it's pretty exciting.
The way we finished this season made me feel good about where we're at and where we're headed. You know, the way we've played our system and learned the way we need to play for our coach and what he demands of us. And you could tell that we've had a more consistent game.
The Canes got better as the season moved along this year. They'll need to carry that into next season. Ken Medlin, WRAL Sports, Raleigh.
Well, the 71 points by the Hurricanes this season is the lowest since the 02-03 season. In the last 5 years, you see there, they only have a winning record twice. Once was last year. How will the organization try to turn that tide? Well, quite often we are spending so much time trying to find the next that we overlook the current. And right now, who is hotter than Masters champ Jordan Spieth? In his last 4 tournaments, Spieth has finished first, tied for second alone, and first. 2 years ago, he left the University of Texas as a sophomore and turned pro, a one-and-doner that didn't draw the attention of college basketball players. Spieth draws inspiration from his 14-year-old sister who has autism. At the Masters, he became the 5th player to lead wire-to-wire and the 2nd youngest to win the green jacket. Winning the Masters, that's just the tip of his list of goals.
I'd like to win more of these. I'd like to be a part of all the majors. Getting a grand slam of majors would be something incredible. To conquer all the different bodies of golf at their highest level would be something that I certainly will try to achieve. I'd like to, at some point, be #1 in the world as well.
Wow, quite a list of goals. Right now, he's #2, but Spieth has plenty of time to achieve those goals. On July 27th, Jordan turns the ripe old age of 22. No NBA news from Duke on Justice Winslow or Tyus Jones. Multiple reports say that Virginia's Justin Anderson and Boston College's Olivier Hanlon are headed to the NBA a year early. Both are projected as second-round picks.
Jeff, we thank you, and we thank you for joining us. The CBS News is next.
See you at 10 and 11. Good night.